Hi everyone, so until now we were able to pull up the results for different deals depending on the location that we put to our bot. So if we like to visit New York, Las Vegas or Los Angeles, then we will receive the results accordingly. But what about filtering the results? For example, if we want to stay in an hotel that has 5 stars rating, or even searching hotels that their rating are 3 stars or above. So this is what we are going to do in that video, and this is going to be extremely cool customizing the bot in that way. So let's get started. Alright, so here you can see that we have some results about what we can really book. But as we can understand from this page, we really have multiple options for what we can filter to basically improve the results that we receive. So for the purposes of applying some filtrations, then we're gonna need to write some methods that will be responsible to apply those filtrations. But to do this in that booking class might lead us to a situation where we are going to have too much methods in one class. So that's why we could basically come up with a new Python file that will include some methods about filtrations once our bot has reached the page of the results. So if we go back to our PyCharm now, then we can actually design our project in the following way. So let me open up booking.py and we can go down here and we can say something like apply filtrations, and this filtration should be filtrations, and this one will actually go ahead and instantiate an instance of another class that could be named something like booking filtration, something like that. And then in this class we could basically include some methods that will be responsible to really go ahead and apply those filtrations with the Selenium driver. So let's go ahead and start working on such a design. So I can go here and I can say new file and I can name this booking_filtration, and then inside that I can write a comment what is the purpose of this page. So it will be this file will include a class with instance methods that will be responsible to interact with our website after we have some results to apply filtrations. So we could really understand what this page is about. And right after that, we can basically go down and we can say class booking filtration. And this class is not going to inherit from anything, so we can go directly inside the constructor, and actually the constructor needs to receive one parameter, and this parameter is going to be actually the driver that we are going to pass in as argument, because we also need this class to work with the web driver. So if I go to booking.py, then we can actually see that throughout the process of writing methods, we do it on the self object. So we need to somehow pass the self object to the instantiated instance of this booking filtration. So this is going to look like something like driver equals to self in the future. So that's why we should go to our booking.filtration and basically receive here driver as a parameter. So before we continue working on this one, let me quickly fix the errors in the other file. So I will write here pass to ignore the errors, and I will go to booking.py and I will basically go up top of this file and I will say from booking.bookingFiltration import booking filtration like that, and I will jump here one more line and I will go down here and I will say filtration, something like that, and I will basically instantiate the booking filtration class. And I see that I missed the T here as well, so sorry about that. And then later on we can basically decide what kind of filtrations we want to apply within this method. So that's actually a good way to design our program, because once we have too much methods in a class, then we might have tough time to maintain our code in the long run. So that's why designing the filtrations in the following way could be a great idea. Alright, so now that we understood how we could structure the booking filtrations, then let's see some good candidates for what we can filter by the results. And you can see that we can basically apply some star rating for the results. So that's going to be the first method that we're going to write within the booking filtration file. Now we can see that we have this entire box in here that is responsible to give us back all those checkboxes. So I'd like to first work with that element because you can see that we have some more checkboxes in that page, and I don't want to confuse these 5 stars, for example, with that one, because this same checkbox is appearing also in the popular filters. So that's why it is a better idea to first take our bot and identify the element that is responsible to display this whole area. So I'm going to try to click on inspect in here, and I'm going to do that twice. And you can see that we have this filter category title. So the parent element of this is probably what is responsible to display all those checkboxes. And if we take our mouse to the parent element in here, then you can see that this is exactly the box, because it also says filter box in its class name, and it also has an ID that says filter underscore class. So that is perfect because we can try to use our bot to basically select this element with that ID, and then we are going to do something very special that will be responsible to display all the child elements of this div element. So let's go ahead and work on that. So I'm going to copy this statement in here, and I'm going to go back to our PyCharm, and you can see that I'm inside the booking filtration file. So at first we should assign the driver to the self object of this booking filtration class. So it is going to be self.driver is equal to driver, and if you remember, this is always going to receive the original driver from the booking class itself. So that's why I do this little trick in here, and I can basically launch a method like apply star rating in here, and this will receive self as a parameter. And now I can use something like self.driver.find element by ID, and the ID should be filter underscore class because this is the ID of the element that we like to filter by. Now notice how we did not have auto completion, and this is very annoying because in libraries that are very large like Selenium, we probably always like to have auto completion for the different methods to basically make our lives more easier. And the reason that the auto completion doesn't work, it is because this parameter doesn't have a specific type. Now there is actually something in Python that is called typing, so we can really decide the parameters type to work with auto completions. Now to show you an example of how typings are working, then I will use a minute to explain this with a more familiar type of variable that we commonly use that is called a list. So say that this class is actually going to receive one more list like my list, and we always like to pass in here list. But if we go here and say my list, then we will not have auto completion for methods like append, remove, and stuff that is very related to lists. And again, it is because this parameter doesn't know its typing. So we could actually do something like from typing import list, and we could go here and we could say that this one is going to be list. And now if I was to say dot, then you can see that I have auto completion for the list methods. And the same approach goes for the driver instances of Selenium. We could basically import a library to decide this driver's type, and it is going to be as easy as going here and saying from Selenium dot WebDriver dot remote dot WebDriver import WebDriver, like that. And let me remove the examples because we're really not going to receive list as a parameter. This was just an example. And then I'm going to say here colon WebDriver, and once we have set the type of this driver parameter, then we are always going to have self.driver dot, and you can see that we have those auto completions as expected, because now the self.driver object knows its type. So that's why This is very useful. And now we can go ahead and basically assign this to a variable. So we can name it something like star filtration box, and then we could use that. And now the next step should be how to identify the child elements of some element that we have selected. And this is something that we can achieve by using CSS selector. So let me show you how this could be done. So star child elements. This is how I'm going to name my variable. And I'm going to now use self.driver, and I'm going to use find elements and not elements. So I know that this is the first time that we use more than one element as a method, but actually there's also the option to finding more than one elements in a website. So I'm going to use find elements by CSS selector, and actually there's a convention to find all the child elements of a given element, and that will be by basically using the asterisk sign inside a string. Now, I want you to take a look and think about what is wrong with this statement. So we go ahead and say self.driver, and we launch on top of that this find elements by CSS selector method. So this will end up giving us all the elements of this entire web page. And this is wrong because we only want the elements of star filtration box element. I mean all the child elements of it. So what we can actually do is we can remove this self.driver and we can replace this with star filtration box, and then this line will be responsible to give us all the elements that belongs to that star filtration box element. So now we could go ahead and use something like print len star child elements to really see that we have some elements stored in this variable. And we can go to booking.py, and we can also use here something like filtration dot apply star rating. And if you remember, we did not use this method in our main file, which was run.py. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to always execute bot.apply filtrations, and we want to leave here this method always being executed, and then we will customize what methods we want to execute in this apply filtrations method inside the booking.py file. So now let's execute our entire project. So I will run.py and see what happens. And in a minute, I will also show you the results in our console because we are printing something. So let's wait for that. Alright, so if we go back to here, then you can see that we receive as a result 40. And now inside those 40 elements, we look for the 5 checkboxes that we need. Now, if we go back to the Chrome browser again, I actually have set up what are the exact elements that we need. So you can see that I have expanded here this filter class element. And if we take a look a little bit more down, so if we go to like this area, then in here you can see that it is more focused on the checkboxes. And inside of that, we have all those A tags. And those A tags are what really we should click on them. And you can see that each of those A tags are having some more child classes. I know that it has a very long structure, and you can see that at the end, the inner HTML of one of the child elements is 1 star. So what we can actually do, we can try to iterate over those 40 elements, and we can look up for those that are having the substring of 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5. And this is the same structure for all other stars. So if we go and expand the 2 stars element, we can actually see that it has at the end inner HTML with the value of 2 stars. So those are the elements that we look to click on them. So that's why we can go to here and we can basically open up the booking filtration, and we can work on those star child elements by iterating over each one of them. So we can say for star element in star child elements, and we could use something that will look like if star underscore element dot get underscore attribute, and we should receive the attribute that is really responsible to display the inner text. So it should be inner HTML like that. So this is a convention to find the values of what is inside those HTML tags. So for example, if we were to have a tag that is looking like that, and we have some value like gym, then if we want to receive the gym value only, then you should launch up the get attribute method. So that's why we use this expression in here, and we want to look if this entire expression in here is equal to something like 1 stars, right? So this is what we look up for. And of course, I'm not going to hard code this in, and besides, we are going to receive here something like star value, and we want to turn this to a formatted string, and we want to change this to star value like that. And if this entire expression is true, then we want to do something. Now, before I go ahead inside of this if statement, let me write in here pass. At first, we want to convert this entire expression to a string just to be more safe. So I'm going to just do that and wrap all this expression with the str method. And I'm also going to launch a method that you maybe seen before that is called strip. Now, the strip is a method that will be responsible to clean all the white spaces, because we might have some white spaces when we want to see the values of the inner HTMLs. And this is basically going to be responsible to clean all of those. Alright, so now I can go inside of our if conditional, and I can basically say star element dot click. And the reason I can do this right now, it is because we are going to iterate over 40 elements. And if we have one element that its inner HTML is actually star value, stars, then we probably want to click on that. So let's test this in action. So I'm going to basically now run our run.py, but before we do that, we should go to booking.py, because this is where we use the apply star rating, and we should pass in some star value. So let's go ahead and try to click on 5 stars. So I'm going to pass in here, and let's do this keyworded so we can really understand what this is about. And now we can launch our bot again. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's see what will happen. So we search for some results as usual, and then it should go ahead and try to click on 5 stars. And if we actually go down, then you can see that it clicked on here. So that is perfect. And you can see that this one got also activated, and this is great because we were able to really achieve our goal. Alright, so now that we understood this, then there is going to be one more feature that we'd like to add to this method, because this is just realistic sometimes to search for results that are kind of like 4 stars or above, or 3 stars or above, something in that kind. So that's why we should somehow receive as a parameter not just 1 star value, but maybe receive more than 1 star value. And the way that we can achieve this is by turning this star value being arbitrary argument. And that is a way that we can pass in many arguments to one argument, basically by doing it with adding an asterisk sign before the parameter name. Now, if you don't know what this does in here deeply, then I have a video that explains what is the difference adding one asterisk sign near a parameter to adding double asterisk sign. And this is commonly seen with args, or maybe you have seen previously double asterisk key W args. And if you don't know what are those, then I have a video that explains the differences between those in the suggested video, so definitely consider taking a look on that one. Alright, so now that I have changed this to being an arbitrary argument, then let me change this to star values, because it will be just more friendly name for that kind of variable. And I can go down and basically use a statement like for star value in star values, and I can take my entire code in this area and basically insert this into a new for loop, so it will be something like that. And now that we have done this, then let's test this out with passing in multiple star values. And the way that we are going to do that is as easy as going to booking.py, and besides passing in one single value, let's try to pass in 3, 4 and also 5. So we should see the results that their star rating is 3 stars or above. So if we run our program now and wait a few seconds, then let's see what will happen. So as usual, we see the regular behaviors in the searching results. Alright, so if we take a look in here, then you can see that we have activated those star ratings. And if we actually take a look in your filters box, then you can also see that it has been activated successfully. So we have done a really great job implementing the star rating to this booking.com website, and we can continue from here. Alright, so you can definitely understand that there is no limit for the filtrations that you can apply right after you are inside the results page. So I'm going to add one more method for the purposes of this tutorial that I personally think that is very useful, and I think if we could have the option to take our bot to click on the sorting option from lowest price to higher, then it is going to be very useful. So if we take a look in the results page, then you can actually see that up top we have some more filtrations, or basically just some more utilities that can help us to customize our results better. You can see that we have the option of clicking price lowest first. So we would like to automate clicking on that, and I'm going to click on inspect, and you can see that this is just a button with only this attribute in here, which we have to find to probably click on that, and that is going to be this data ID is equal to price. So we can grab this key value attribute and find this with CSS selector and basically try to click on that one. So we can go back to our PyCharm and basically to our booking filtration file, and we can design here one more method, and we could name this sort price lowest first. And this is just going to try to find an element, so we can name it just element, and that will be equal to self.driver.find element by CSS selector, and this will be that one, and this will just receive li because this was the element type, and we will open up our square brackets and we will say data id is equal to, actually I copied this statement, so excuse me about that, and I can just paste in data id is equal to price, make sure to use double quotes in price, and then down below I can say element.click, and that will be it. Now if you remember, this is only the page that we write our methods, but we don't actually call them. And the place that we call them is inside this booking.py file inside apply filtrations. So right after we apply some star rating, we could also sort our results. So we could say filtration dot sort price lowest first, and this is not going to receive anything as parameters, so we are not going to pass any arguments. And now let's test this entire program now in action. And let me actually test our program a bit and only use 4 to 5 stars. Alright, so if we run this, then and wait a bit, let's see what will happen. Alright, so you can see that we have also activated the price lowest first button. As you can really see that we have some more cheaper results now in the first page, and if we take a look in our filtrations, then you can see that we got 4 stars and 5 stars. So I think this will be pretty much enough about the filtrations that you can apply if you want to basically see useful results. Of course, there are more things that you can apply to receive better results, and as you can see, the technique of that, it is pretty much going to be similar to finding the elements with the different methods that you can use within the Selenium library. Alright, so I hope that you have enjoyed in this episode. I know that this specific page of the results wasn't easy to work with because we had some great challenges to find the specific elements, but at least we have learned some new techniques finding the specific elements that we need. So again, if you enjoyed in here, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and as well as hit the like button on that video, and I will see you in the next episode.